Hello, and welcome to the podcast for, here we have it, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. If you would like to know what we think about this book in short, then you should check out the short video, which will be here on your head. I'm sorry.
You can click here.
Yeah, we give a short little review, and we without too much spoilers, we talk what it's about. And today in the podcast, we're just going to be asking some questions to each other.
All spoilers.
All spoilers.
Spoilers, there will be spoilers.
We'll be spoiling other books.
Philby died.
What?
Philby dies.
Oh, I never read it that way. Alright. Thank you for joining. And
He is eaten by murlocs.
let's get started with the first question. Has your opinion on this book changed since the time that we've read it? Which is a little longer ago than I had planned. But
Yeah, normally we sort of record these things back to back.
yeah.
Not this time. Not this time. Life got in the way.
Yes, exams and whatnot.
But it will not be this day.
It will not be this day.
So
Alright, but
Dino is challenging himself by speaking in solely in Lord of the Rings quotes. We'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah, alright, so I think most of us agreed that this book is a bit of a strange book.
It's fucking weird.
It's a peculiar ride, but now that we've had some time to let it sink down and think about it a little, are there things that have changed for you, that you look back on it and now you're like, oh.
In the Lord of the Rings, they do not refer to Japan, right?
I don't think
No.
Japan is part of Middle Earth. No.
No.
You could rename them a particular race within Lord of the Rings, but I'm not sure if our Japanese audience is going to like that.
So there are not many races in Lord of the Rings. You have the hobbits, you have the men and elves. But
Right.
they do not.
How does this relate to the book, man?
They do not relate to the book.
No, I
Alright,
don't think so.
let's talk about the book. Has your opinion changed since the time that you've read it?
So, I really liked this book when I finished it. Then I saw the review, and sort of this space of time has passed, and I was watching my review in particular, and I was like, I'm really optimistic about this book, and I don't really remember why.
Now that you're looking back on it.
Now I'm looking back, I mean, I still liked it, I still recommend it, and I still think I loved the thing where it's like Alice in Wonderland. If Alice were like, meh, the whole time, which is very, I mean, I still agree. I still stand by that statement. But yeah, I may not be as fervent with my enthusiasm now.
Yeah. Well, it's, I think you concluded that this book sort of depends on you being within the internal logic. And I guess that the moment that you put the book down and let a few weeks pass and you're out of that crazy twisted logic, and then you're looking back on it and things make less sense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things already did not make a lot of sense, but...
Yeah, I still stand by my conclusion, my own review of the book. But in between our recording of the review and, well, this podcast, so much time has passed, and I haven't really thought about the book a lot because I've been busy with other things.
But it's
Like
so
it's almost like we have a life outside of this.
yeah.
no, I mean, like some books get better over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's to say, I remember finishing For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway and putting it down and thinking, like, yeah, this was a book. But I think it's been 1 or 2 years since I've read it, and I keep getting more enthusiastic to reread it. I'm like, I want to read it again. And but I don't think this book. Well, I will reread this book at some point, but probably in like 20 years, I think.
Yeah, I have this with Slaughterhouse-Five, which is a very good book to read and very fun to analyze as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, like, at some point there's this thing, and if it clicks, the book becomes even more rewarding. So, like, and I was very proud because I read that during The Bachelors, like, that was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I read it then. And it was very rewarding when I sort of found the angle that the book was going for, because it's not explicit. And I'm not going to spoil anything. I gave it to you for your birthday, so you can read it now.
Yes.
So Slaughterhouse-Five, it's one of my favorite books actually. So yeah, and I have that, where it's like when I put the book down and I'm sort of thinking about it. And it's like, oh, Joe, and then
now I understand.
we have video now, so I can now go, oh, Joe, I can do that now, and you can you can be along for the ride.
Well, maybe in a few years' time we'll think about this book and be like, now I understand, but probably not.
Nirvana, and then your third eye opens.
Yeah, I would probably like to reread the first two parts and then just stop.
Yeah.
Or like a new version of the third part. Alright, well, let's get to a more positive question. Did you have a favorite character?
Toru.
Toru?
Yes.
Toru himself?
Yes.
He's a very passive protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, he's nice to go along with because he's very reasonable and very nice. And it's not like, he's not like a teenager throwing his arms up in the air and rolling over the floor like, man, it's not fair. He has a lot of like, I guess, moments, but it's
Yeah, he's a very reasonable protagonist.
yeah.
And like, even if he sometimes does like weird things,
Sometimes.
Sometimes. No, it's,
Sometimes he sort of gets no, but I liked him a lot.
yeah, I was going to say it's mainly that strange things happen to him and he just goes along with it. But there are some moments where he just sort of loses his mind. Like with the musician and the
Yeah,
bat.
when he kills the musician, yeah.
Yeah, well, he doesn't.
Oh no, he
does
doesn't
he
kill.
kill
He
him?
doesn't
Yeah,
kill.
no.
He's severely maimed.
Yeah, he really roughs him up, and I was like, that's sort of with like Malut, which we watched.
Yeah.
Alright, let's not talk about Malut.
Oh jeez, Malut.
Very strange film.
Yeah.
Stranger perhaps than Why the Bird Chronicle.
A lot stranger.
Yeah. But well, so Toru, the man himself.
Yeah, but because I liked him. I felt, even though he does weird things, that it's not unreasonable that he does those things. I feel.
You would see yourself doing them as well.
Yeah, because I mean I can identify with Toru, in the sense that he just sort of he is loyal to his wife. And it's like, yeah, I just want to get her back. I want to be happy again, and I was happy with her. So I just want to get her back. And then he just does things, and the weird things he does, like beating up the musician. I feel like we all have like momentary lapse of reason.
Yeah, right, sure.
And I mean, I like the fact that he listens to people. Like people come up with these outrageous stories, and Toru's just like, no, it's okay. I'm just gonna be over here making a sandwich, and I'll be right back. You can tell me your story, and I like that.
Yeah. That's. I was going to ask you at what moment you were sold on Toru, but for me it was like the very beginning of the book. He's getting a phone call while he's making spaghetti, and then he picks up, and he's like, "Go away, I'm making spaghetti," and she's like, "But it's 9:30 in the morning." Fuck you! It's my spaghetti. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, I'm just gonna do this thing. So bye. And I don't know. I like that.
My spaghetti is not al dente anymore.
And I what I also like. I mean, that's obviously Haruki doing that, but I like the fact that like when Toru's talking about these things happening to him, he also still meticulously tells us when he goes grocery shopping, that he puts all the groceries, he takes them out of the bag, and puts them on the counter, and then from the counter he moves them to the fridge, and he tells us that, and he's like, I'm preparing this meal. So then I take the salad, and I cut up the tomatoes, and I cut up the onions, and then I go, I'll make a salad, and then I sit down and I eat the salad, and this is my Yelp review of the salad. And it's like, you really go along with him, and I like that.
Well, that's not necessarily a good thing to be confronted with all of the details. I mean, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But
No salads in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
yeah, I would ask you if you think Haruki Murakami has pulled this off particularly well, but instead I'll be asking you, Dino, what your favorite character is.
I think Greta Garno.
Oh yes, you've mentioned that. Yes.
So is that the older or the younger?
That's the younger sister.
Right.
Yes.
So the prostitute of the mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the red hat
This
lady.
book is kind of weird.
No.
So, not that I can really relate to her.
You've never been a prostitute of the mind?
No, I've never been.
Or like a prostitute proper?
No, neither of them.
Have you been anything of the mind?
Yeah, of
All
course.
right. All right. So in that sense, you relate to her. You
Yeah.
also have a mind.
I have a mind.
And you have been of it at one point.
Yes. All right. But is there one thing that you can?
Well, I acknowledged. No. That's not the word I'm looking for. So I felt I liked her because in the third part of the book, she vanishes. Vanishes.
And then you
And then
realize
and then I realized, well, this book could be better. This part could be better if there was more
more.
Greta Kano in
I
it.
thought you were going to say, I liked the part where she wasn't there.
That's my favorite.
So yeah, I just liked the interaction between her and Toru. The fact that, well, she also goes along with his crazy actions. So like he's in the well, and then she's, what are you doing over there? So yeah, sure, you're in the well, and she goes in the well as well.
But at the same time, she is also pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
She just goes into that well, disappears, and then shows up in his bed naked.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, I was just in your house, and then I just felt like going in your bed naked.
Yeah.
So, this is my life now. I live here now.
What are you going to do? I'm naked. You gotta touch me.
Let me just put on your wife's clothes while I'm at it.
By the way, Eva, do you happen to know when we started this recording?
1:10 of zo.
All right. Thank you very much.
So we have a guest here. She is off camera.
We have a special crew member.
She's
That's
our
cool.
timekeeper.
I'm watching.
All right. I guess personally, I liked Mei Kasahara the most. I think it's a very fun and nice character.
She's so weird though. She's
Yeah,
so
but I mean-
weird.
I mean, in real life too, I also like hanging around with weird women who talk about weird things.
I guess.
And
Who bathe naked in the moonlight?
yes, instead of saving your life.
I was going to save your life, but instead I took a bath.
Yeah, I heard your psychic calls from down the well that you were fucking drowning. So I got up and I took off all my clothes and I started spinning in the moonlight.
You should have been there, but you were dying.
But yeah, I don't know, she's really weird, and I mean, she has this this teenager thing where problems seem really big to her, and and the language she uses is like, oh, and it was so scary, and I don't know. I think she's a funny character.
She's a very realistic teenager.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah,
Also,
but not in an annoying sense. She does
No.
really care about Toru and other things that happen.
But there's also the sense that she's the only person who really understands how it works.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because teenagers often, they have this idea of, man, everyone fucking stupid.
Yeah.
They should listen to me more, because I know that the Earth is actually a cube. I know that. And she sort of has that with her, and her obsession with death as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, when you enter adolescence, you sort of get confronted with that more. And it's sort of, whatever. But, like, yeah, I thought she was a realistic character. I just thought her letters were kind of...
Yeah. Well, I think her letters, well, they were, I wouldn't call them pointless, but they were often very poorly timed. Like, there were these moments where you're like, all right, I'm reading, these things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to give me answers now? No, here's a letter from May talking about dog people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, they were relevant at some points, I think, but I just thought it was not what I wanted. Every single time they came up, it's like, this is not what I want to be reading right now.
No, exactly. Maybe later, but
Mm-hmm.
there are more important things right now.
I want
than
to
dog
know
people.
what is happening in that well.
Yes.
I would say the interesting things for me were the interactions between May and Toru or Toru and Greta, because furthermore there are not a lot of interaction between
side characters.
Yeah, between side characters.
Yeah, maybe a little implied interactions between Naboku Bataya and other people. But
Yeah. I liked Cinnamon as well.
Oh yeah, I like Cinnamon.
I like Cinnamon as well.
Yeah, he seems very nice and intelligent.
Yeah, and just caring.
Yeah.
He's selfless, which I liked.
Yeah, and it's he was described as very handsome and very talented and very well dressed, and it's nice to read about a character who has all that and then still chooses to live a simple life and help his mother.
Yeah, and be genuinely altruistic.
Yeah,
which I liked. Yeah,
yeah,
he was nice.
There were a lot of nice characters in this novel. All right, if I may continue to the big one, the question that contains another 4 questions. To what extent do you think the events that take place in this novel are metaphorical to like the overarching things? So in the sense that you have these scenes with the boy and the tree and the beating heart in the ground. I mean, that has to be metaphorical to something that's going on, but
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah.
I think you said it well in your review that this book is like a dream, and I feel that some of these events are just weird, like they're just weird.
Yeah.
And because they have that dream-like quality to them, and I think the way that Cinnamon lost his voice with the way that the men buried that heart in his backyard, I think that is part of it. Because, I mean, his father, so we know that his father left, right? And his father died.
Was murdered in a hotel room.
Yeah. His father died, and there were men there, and they were like his father, and they were burying a heart. And you never really see. Does his father have that blue mark as well?
No. The father of Nutmeg.
Nutmeg, yeah.
No, so his.
But in the stories as written by Cinnamon, like Nutmeg tells her son Cinnamon all these stories about her father, and then Cinnamon writes them down on the computer.
Yeah.
And then writes him as having a blue mark.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Yeah, but for Nutmeg, she got in touch with Toru. I think because he has that blue mark.
Well, I think the second time she encounters him, he has the blue mark. But the first time...
No, he has it the first time as well.
Oh, yeah. Right.
But he just... Because he had the blue mark and he was talking to his uncle. And his uncle said that sometimes you just have to stay put and wait for it to pass. And so he did that. And he just stared at people.
Yeah.
And she came up to him asking him if he needed money. And he said, no, I'm just here staring at people.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, that part might be sort of metaphorical because his father died and he sort of realized, and that's why he lost his ability to speak, I think, maybe.
Yeah, so Cinnamon.
Yeah, Cinnamon then. And but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, there's also these theories, I believe, within the novel of certain characters representing aspects of Kumiko. Like the hotel lady being sort of a manifestation of her repressed sexuality. And then you get into a lot of questions like sub-question 3B, what do you think the hotel is? What does that symbolize?
So the
or it doesn't even symbolize something? Is it supposed to be an actual event?
I think the hotel is like the inside of someone's brain.
Toru's brain, or a sort of collective subconscious?
I think Kumiko's brain. I think. Because you have her brother on this big television screen making these loud things, and there's these winding passages, and then in a room you find her repressed sexuality, which I also came to the conclusion that the telephone lady is probably just her sex drive. And I think it's Kumiko's brain, and I think then with the attacker then, because she's constantly afraid of that person.
Yeah.
That's her brother.
Yeah, and I think that's her brother, and I think I think just Toru beating that person is just Toru beating back, or just Toru helping her overcome her being afraid of her brother.
Which is actually, now that I think about it, now that you put it that way, that would be a stupendous way to end the novel. That's very well done then. Now it sort of makes sense, like, oh yeah, right. I mean, that's a good answer to the red lines within the story. Like, he's trying to conquer Kumiko back, and there's this looming shadow of Noboru Bataya, and he's a very passive protagonist, which makes it so that his life does not progress. And then all three of those things are answered and concluded within one act. Oh, now I have this moment like, oh, wait! I appreciate the book more now.
But then...
If this is even true.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's... I think Hemingway, he wrote, what was it? The Old Man and the Sea, right?
Yes.
Which is our first podcast. You can find it here. Or maybe not, if Dylan decides to disregard what I'm doing. Anyway.
I just like flaming.
But he said, he has this quote, and it's like, the old man is just an old man, and the sea is just a sea, and the fish is just a fish. There's no deeper meaning. But that's not like, if you, analyzing literature is not what is intended, but it is our reading of it. So, I mean, even if Murakami doesn't mean it that way, we still perceive it that way, which is valid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I read it. I think that's because
that's a very nice way to read it, anyway.
And it also explains why the people in the lobby sort of rising up when they find out that Toru is this supposedly killed Noboru. It's just her just sort of reeling. It's like, no, I don't, because it's change, and she left him because she wanted something else.
Oh yes, in that sense.
And it's just her brain resisting change, I think.
Yeah.
So is it her brain resisting change, or is it her brain resisting Toru, or is it the brain resisting Nobuo? I think Nobuo is the villain of the novel.
He's portrayed the most villainous, yes.
Yeah.
So he would be the antagonist, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there is an antagonist, then yes.
Yeah, because also she's afraid of him because what he's done, for the things he has done to her sister.
Yeah.
Because it is implied that he had
that he did the same thing that he did to Kreta.
Yeah.
To Crete.
No, to the sister, to the older sister of.
Things occurred.
Yeah. At one time, it's
Kumiko.
Oh yeah.
Kumiko has an older sister.
Yeah, and he did that to her as well.
Yeah, and what is implied is, I think, act of sexual depravity.
Yeah.
Which I would describe as he uses wizard penis.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so Noboru is the penis wizard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what we concluded. So talking about penises, the bat then.
Yes. What does it mean?
Well, I don't know.
What do you think the bat signifies?
I have no idea, but it's interesting. But it's interesting that the same bat, that there is a bat in the story of the Japanese in Manchukuo, where you have the story of
the soldier who gets baseball practice to knock someone's head off.
Yeah, indeed. And he gets the practice, and then in one swing he hits the Chinese what is it? Conspirator, rebel.
Let's keep it at rebel.
Were they rebels? I thought they were I thought they were deserters.
Yeah, well, they were Japanese. They were trainees in the Japanese institute.
Yeah, they were.
But they rose up against.
Yeah, they were conscripted. But
Yeah.
then they just ran.
Yeah. So he kills him with one swoop, just like with a swing to the back of his head, and that's actually what happens to Noboru. He also gets.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that entire episode with the computer stories about Nutmeg's father is really a point where things from the main story start magically incorporating into this sub-story.
Yeah, because I also think, but I'm not sure. In a way, both not May, but Kreta is actually Kumiko.
Yeah, I have this as a question written down. Like, we're not going to get to it probably, but which characters represent a part of Kumiko? Because I count like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in my review in my reading, at a certain point, I was thinking, well, Kreta is actually Kumiko. Not actually, but they represent the same thing. And
and she perfectly fits the clothes.
And when she's naked, she looks remarkably like her.
Yeah.
Going back to the bat.
Yes.
So how many of you have seen Wicker Man?
With Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
No.
All right. There's a mandatory. We have to do this. Not the beast!
So at some point he comes into he enters this school building and there's these little girls chanting phallic symbol, phallic symbol, phallic symbol, which was what I heard in my head when I saw when I sort of when Toru is sort of using this bat, because it is a phallic symbol, I think. And I think because you have Kumiko, who is admittedly sexually repressed, and then you have a Toru finally overcoming this by swinging his huge phallic symbol. I mean,
but the first time he swings it, he obtains it from a random musician.
Yeah, who he almost beats to death.
Yeah, I read an interesting theory there that the musician represents suffering.
Yeah, I think I've read the same one this morning.
Yeah, that the musician represents suffering, and then Toru is sort of trying to beat him because you have the episode in the cafe where he does the candle trick.
Yeah,
and it's like and he talks about suffering, and then what was it? Toru sees him again, and it's like, maybe if I can just kill this guy, I can
all my suffering.
I can end all my suffering.
No, he's not.
Well,
trying to. He goes after him, and then he enters the building, and then he's attacked.
Yeah, he's ambushed.
He's ambushed by.
But it's like, but not explicitly, but like implicitly. When he's fighting this guy, because the guy.
Yeah, when he's actually fighting him, but he goes after him to just talk to him.
To find out, why am I suffering?
Yeah.
Why do I suffer so?
Yes.
But then he's attacked, and it's like the guy is laughing as well because Toru can't do it. He can't end his suffering because he doesn't have the strength. But then he acquires the mighty penis.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do see merit in the musician representing suffering, and Toru being ambushed and fighting back. That's metaphorical to some sort of struggle he's trying to overcome, but I'm not sure if the bat is really fits as a phallic symbol to me in this case, or maybe I just don't want to think of it as a phallic symbol.
I guess that works.
It would be nice to have one page of this novel where people aren't using magical penises on each other.
I guess. So, is there anything else you want to discuss here?
What do you guys think the wind-up bird represents?
I have no clue.
All right.
I don't know.
So
in the story it represents Toru is the wind-up bird chronicle.
Yeah,
it's the wind-up bird.
He's called Mr. Wind-up Bird.
Yeah.
And that's basically, I believe, May gives him that nickname because he talks about the wind-up bird.
Yeah,
I think he gives it to himself.
Oh,
May,
yes.
May says you need a nickname because Toru Wataya is Toru Okada is such a mouthful and it's so plain. You need a nickname, and he goes with Mr. Windup.
Yeah.
Well, there are certain characters in the novel, and only they can hear the wind-up bird. That's one thing of the story, and I think the wind-up bird is the bird who announces the coming of things.
The coming of things.
Yeah.
Right. Big events are about.
No, not necessarily big events, maybe, but more like changing of seasons.
All right.
But I think because one important thing is that at the start of the book, Toru stops hearing the wind-up bird, and then all this crazy shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then maybe the wind-up bird sort of signifies regularity. So things just go regularly. It's sort of like the rhythm of his life and the things being normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it stops, things go out of control.
I guess.
I'm not sure. Because there are certain, I think, Cinnamon, he can also hear the wind-up bird until he lost his voice. And there's in the Manchukuo stories, there's one Japanese officer, a young one, the young officer who has to swing the bed, and he also hears the wind-up bird chronicle.
The wind-up bird.
Wind-up bird.
The wind-up bird's call.
He hears also. So there are certain characters who can hear the call of the wind-up bird.
Yeah.
And wind-up birds. What is a wind-up bird?
Well, it's. Yeah, but it's not
winds,
actual.
Yeah, it winds the world's spring.
Yeah.
But it's like can I just say that I thought that was just such a cool thing. I think I've talked about this with you guys, but like you can write an entire book around just the concept of this bird and how its call sort of winds the spring of the world. But then it's and in this book it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that's also there.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, this is an interesting story element.
But now we're gonna look at penis wizards.
Yes. Want to know more about penis wizards? Here's duck people.
Exactly. I don't know, but I don't know. I think the wind-up bird thing is actually very like, because what you said is like every time someone hears the wind-up bird, something extraordinary happens to them, and then after that thing happens to them, they stop hearing it.
Yeah, well, they stop hearing it, and then things happen to them.
Yeah.
So they always hear it, and then suddenly it stops.
And then it's something extraordinary.
Yeah, so in that sense, it's maybe sort of like they fall out of normality, out of the normal world, and into the dream world.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Mostly they just die.
Or they get
Fair enough.
or they get fucked up.
Yeah.
Yes. They go into the hospital world.
Yeah.
All right. So, what does the blue mark signify? That's the final one in this big question.
So I think the blue mark signifies a handicap, and how you can learn to live with a handicap. I think that's what the blue mark signifies.
Please elaborate.
Well, it can be anything. So
That's true because it's a symbol.
it's a symbol. So it's just
It can't be a red mark though. That would be
it's
No, it totally could.
It could also
That's
be a
the
red
way
mark.
symbols work.
Yeah.
It could be
So,
anything.
Toru.
Otherwise, it would be
Toru he suffers because he's lost his wife. Then suddenly he gets this mark on his face, and then he just thinks, well, screw it. It will be there. It will go away, and I just live with it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's Nutmeg who says, "Hey, this blue mark does things.
Yeah.
Apparently,
You want to make some money.
and you can use it to cure women." And then he learns that he can use the blue mark for his own good.
Yeah, all right. Because I was going to ask you, how does someone else's handicap heal women? But you mean it more in the sense like, he's sort of cursed with this handicap, or well, at
Yeah.
least with this mark, and instead of lamenting about it or trying to fight it, he finds some good use for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, and that's just
All right, but it's
general life lesson, I think.
Yeah.
Of the story.
I had something similar to that, although I wouldn't necessarily call it a handicap, but just like a visualization of him suffering.
all right. But how do your theories then explain? Well, explain. Maybe there's nothing to explain in this book, but he obtains the mark when he first goes through the well wall
Yeah.
into the hotel world,
Mm-hmm.
or when he comes back. Actually, then he suddenly has the mark.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
we agreed could symbolize Kumiko's brain.
Yes. So he goes into Kumiko's brain, and then that causes him to experience suffering in a new way.
Yeah. I would
Sure,
say so.
let's go with that.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, because he suffers for the loss of Kumiko.
Mhm.
Then now he gets this. How would you say? There's this theory of four stadia of loss.
Five
Isn't it
stages.
five?
Five stages of grief.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
think, wasn't it 4?
No,
no,
it's
I'm,
five.
I'm pretty sure it's denial, and then
it's
anger,
denial, anger,
bargaining,
bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
and acceptance. Well,
Yeah.
maybe acceptance doesn't really count as alright.
Well, it's the final stage. Because
Yeah.
then you're no longer grieving.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's right, but
So this signifies that the blue mark signifies that he's gone to a new
stage.
new stage.
Also, can I just say, thematically relevant t-shirt.
Yeah.
Jellyfish.
I just realized.
Jellyfish.
So I like
So what do the jellyfish signify?
eternal life, because jellyfish can regenerate instead of dying. And Kumiko is fascinated by this notion.
It sounds well enough.
Yeah. So just as a side note,
Mhm.
if we so I was amused by the thought just now that if the blue mark is suffering, I just thought it was amusing that we have these rich women visiting this poor guy to suck on his suffering. It's like, feed me with your suffering.
Yes. I am rich. I do not know these things.
I just thought that was really funny. It's like, I thought I had it bad, but look at this poor bastard.
Yeah. It's sort of he started people watching, and then now he's being sort of people watched back. All right. So how do the stories of the war relate to the overarching story, the Manchukuo history stories, and what about May's letters?
So this was my question,
Yes.
and I asked this because I had no clue, and I wanted to know.
Why was this even in the book?
Yeah, like May letters. So May's letters, at some points, they gave sort of foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also like part of. It's partly foreshadowing, partly setting up the ending as well, where he visits her and looks at the duck people or at the duck people. And weird shit as well.
It's the precursor to weird shit.
Yeah, and I think the Manchukuo stories also relate, or they fit into the theme of suffering and people sort of being passive in that suffering, I guess, because we have people being skinned alive and being forced to watch. And
Yeah, that was not very pleasant.
no,
to
it's
read.
extremely unpleasant.
Yeah.
And then also being thrown down, and when he's thrown down the well, he also gets saved by doing nothing, because he's just in that well.
Yeah.
And then at
Mr.
some
Honda
point,
shows up.
Mr. Honda shows up in his brand new Honda Civic. And he's go beep beep, and then he gets pulled out.
Yeah.
And like, and there's the
Drives it into the well.
and he goes well. But then you also have the zoo animals.
We have reached a new low point with these jokes. Come on.
I don't get, dude. You know me. I had 2 puns in my review. With catalyst and well. Anyway, but we also have the zoo animals. It's also just suffering through passivity, because they see these horrific things happen, but they don't do anything. I think, and I think that sort of fits in that. And at one point we have I think, was that Mr. Honda who's in the internment camp, in the gulag.
It's Mashima.
Oh yeah, Mashima. And he...
Mamiya.
The Japanese guy with one hand.
Yeah.
Captain Hook.
Captain Hook.
So Captain Hook isn't sent into the internment camp, or the gulag, or whatever it is. And we see him sort of trying... At some point he's like, no, I can't be passive, I have to do something. And shit gets even worse.
Yeah.
So I think it fits with the sometimes you just have to write it out, and then things will get better.
But then on the other hand,
but there's this weird contrast between Majima's story and Toru's story, because you have the villain, the Boris the Man Skinner. That's the definite villain in the Majima story.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Majima arc. And at the end of the arc, Majima, he picks up the pistol, tries to shoot the guy, and he can't shoot him.
Yeah.
So he just fires at him, but he misses.
He fired, and then he missed.
Yeah.
And he fired again,
and he
and he missed again.
And he missed.
He passed out.
He got a popsicle,
And-
and then he shot again, and he missed.
And Boris the Man Skinner is kind of the equivalent of Noburo. And Toru seems to be able to get Noburo. So you have this weird...
So like it doesn't work out with Captain Hook, but it
Yeah.
does work out with Toru.
So you have this contrast.
Because I do think there's a strong parallel to
Yeah.
Boris the Man Skinner and the Bohuataya.
Yeah.
I've already said that the previous time that to me the importance of Boris in the story is to sort of signify, like, if you have some douchebag with psychic powers who's trying to take hold of society, that guy has to be stopped, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, before it gets too far.
But I think one of the important things, and that's... Wait, no. I was going to say that Toru doesn't swing the bat. Furikuri reference. Doesn't swing the bat until the water flows differently. But that's not true, because the water comes back to the well after he kills Noboru.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work.
And he
maybe
doesn't really
that's-
kill.
Maybe it's...
Well,
I feel like...
No, it's in the end it's Kumiko who kills Noboru.
yeah. But like he kills...
He kills his mind. He kills the presence of Noboru in the mind of Kumiko.
Yeah,
and then
he
Kumiko
slays
does the final.
he slays his dragon. If this was the hero's journey, he kills his dragon.
And I think...
No, I'm not sure. I think he kills her dragon.
Which is his dragon, because his
Yeah.
prize is Kumiko.
Yeah.
And I think actually, if we look at the story in the sense that it's about a very passive man and exploring whether or not to be passive, then I think it's interesting that the moment that he kills his dragon, that the water starts flowing again, literally, and his life, his entire life starts. Well, the story starts with his life being stagnant.
Yeah.
And then the entire story is about his stagnant, very strange but stagnant life. And then it ends with him picking up his life again.
Yeah, and returning to normality.
Yeah.
And looking at duck people.
Yeah. And his wife, who he wants back, going to prison.
Yes.
But she'll probably come back.
But she'll probably come
But she'll
back.
probably come back.
But that's not important. That's not what you
Yeah.
want to know, right? Why should we answer that?
Another thing I got from the book when I was reading is that Noburo and Toru are like yin and yang.
Yes.
So they are the direct opposites of each other.
No.
So in a way, Noburo is not only the villain, but it's also everything Toru doesn't want to be, or so it's a repression of himself in a way.
I guess.
So he also you have to defeat yourself to grow. So he has to. But in this story, you have to face your own demons to grow as a person.
It's interesting then. I do agree that Noboru is in a lot of senses meant to be the opposite of Toru. And also in the sense that Noboru is a very assertive character and he gets things done. And then that's a bit of a strange thing to end it on. Like, maybe I should be more assertive. No, let's kill assertivity.
I like the if Toru and Noboru are actually sort of this yin and yang to each other. I like the fact that when, like, because Noboru has this overwhelming presence in the story. Basically, that's his character, and I like the fact that when he sort of gets taken down a peg, balance is restored.
Yeah.
Because there would be in
And by taking down a peg, you mean murdered?
Well, no, because balance is restored before he gets killed. But like Toru kills his influence basically. If we
Yeah.
So because you're right, he doesn't. Toru doesn't kill him. But like I like the fact that when there's like this imbalance and then balance gets restored, and we see that through water returning to the well. I like that imagery.
Yeah. Another thing by which I appreciate the book more now. We should have talked about this a long time ago.
Yes.
It's like we shouldn't have waited 3 months. I mean,
How long did?
a long time. Like a month and a half.
All right, so
Time ago in the galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
I think we should have time for one final question, especially because I don't think it's too long. Aside that, no, I'm going to not go into the final question because I have something else I want to get into. This is sort of an improvised question, mainly because I just want to talk about it. But what to you was the most moving moment in this novel?
Jeez.
Because to me, I had this moment with when Lieutenant Mamiya was introduced, and he told the first part of his story, and then it was like, well, and then I went home and had this curse, and I never loved someone again, and no one ever loved me, and that was my life. And I was like, oh geez, that's something that's super scary to me, to sort of one day wake up and realize that your life has been empty. And that really struck a chord with me. And I was like, oh, but he's so nice.
I think my most visceral reaction was when Toru was drowning in the well. Because Toru was my favorite character, and we've been sort of going along with him on this journey, and it's like finally he gets something, and then he's in this well and he's dying. It's like, no, why?
I was super surprised. Like, he fucking dies.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking at the book, and so I was like, there's still so much book left. Why is he dying now? But then he doesn't.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Sorry.
Like, how can I diffuse these spoilers? But I mean, well,
No, because he doesn't.
Or does he?
No, he doesn't. Yeah, no, but but that was my most well, fuck, and also the Boris the Manskinner when Corporal Toyota tries to shoot him, and he can't, and I also thought that was very. I thought it was very like. I was like, no. He finally swings the bat and he misses.
I think for me, the manskinning part was.
That was.
We should read The Wasp Factory.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. I mean, torture is unfortunately a thing that comes back a lot in history, and sometimes you have to sit and wonder, like, how would you take torture? Like, would you break under pressure, or would you?
I would snap like a twig.
Hey, momentje.
We are professionals.
All right. No, but I mean, gosh darn it. All right. No, but.
So would you? How would you take torture?
I didn't know until I read this, the man skinning part, and I was like, I would not like to be skinned alive.
No, but I don't think there's many people who would say, yeah.
Being skinned alive
That's good.
Being skinned alive? Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think that's possibly the worst form of torture.
Yeah.
No, I could have thrown salt on there as well.
And I also
they
like
were in
how-
the desert.
They were.
It's like, oh no, oh no,
Sand everywhere.
oh no, it's even worse.
I also
don't
like-
do this anymore.
Throws them on the ground.
Oh no, it's throw him on. Anyway,
I also
Rolls
like
him
how,
around, so-
how casually Boris is then like, I guess he really did know nothing.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that afterwards he's like, this fuck sucks every time I have to watch this.
Yes. Alright, so, turns out... Oh, sorry.
No, I think what was the most moving part for me was the Kreta story, because that's my favorite character, and her whole arc that she always feels pain, then she tries to end her own life. It doesn't work,
And then she feels nothing.
and then she feels nothing, and eventually her feelings return. And I found that the most moving in the story, because death and life are also weird. Oh, well, not weird, but they play a big part in the story.
Yeah.
But, I think that was my most moving part. And the ending with the sort of psychological thriller in the hotel.
Yeah.
I was.
You were really invested.
Yeah, I was really invested because my roommates, we were eating all together, and so they had started, and somebody came down and said, "Hey, Martin, we're gonna eat." So, and I was like,
No.
but I have to finish this book. So I finished the book, and I got late for the meal. But
Which is a very good sign.
yeah,
It's not every book can do that.
so
Yes.
I was really invested in the chase, and because it felt like you could just make a kind of horror movie just about a hotel. It felt really like a horror thriller.
Murakami is a good writer.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things in this book.
Well-
In this book.
Well, listening to this podcast, I hope you've been able to conclude that perhaps at first we were a little lukewarm and confused, but now that we've gone into depth more, there's a lot to be found in this story. If you haven't read it yet, well, maybe you should pick it up. It's
Before you watch this podcast, actually. Because we spoiled everything.
Yeah.
yeah, but there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of people who watch the podcasts and then
Philby dies at the end.
and haven't read it yet, and then sort of get interested in reading. But anyway, whether you read it or not,
Darth Vader is a Star Wars.
we would love to see you again next month. Then we'll be
Just as disappointed, Martin.
then we'll be talking about next month. We'll be talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which should also be a fun ride. And well, hopefully we'll see you then. All right, bye. Thanks for watching.